Here's a really quick communication tip for you. And it is something that I tell my clients when I work with my high end clients. I talk to them about neuro-linguistic programming. And one of the things I talk about is sensory acuity. And sensory acuity means looking at the details that others may miss. In a nutshell, that's what it means. So it's picking up on the fine details. And this happened to me today. And I thought about it today because I went to do Pilates this morning. And I was talking to one of the ladies. I'd never met her before, so I just said hola, and I was telling her my name, etc. And in Spanish, she said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Where do you think?" And she said, "England," as they always do. And I said, "Okay, first mistake." Then she kind of went Scottish, and I said, "Okay, that's a little bit better." And then she said, "Ireland," and I said, "Yes." I said, "Did you not see it? It says Dublin, it says Ireland." And she went, Ostras, see, of course. Yeah, I should have seen it. But she didn't notice. So it was as plain as day. It's green, it's white, it says Dublin on it. If somebody says, "Where do you think I'm from?" You could make the joke and say London and then go, "Nah, of course, Dublin." But the idea here is that sometimes when we communicate, we miss these subtle or not so subtle indications that can help us strike up a conversation, continue with small talk, etc. Sorry, I couldn't help but notice your t-shirt says Girona. Actually, that actually happened to me. I was in Blackrock and I was walking. Blackrock is in Dublin. And I was walking along the road and this woman stops me and she said, "Oh," she said, "I love your t-shirt." She said, "We're from Girona," because I was wearing a Girona football jersey. And then we started to talk. She said, "No," she said, "My daughter said, look at the t-shirt, but don't say anything, mama." And then we started to talk a little bit in Catalan. And she was really impressed with the fact that she had met an Irish person in a town where you wouldn't really see a Girona shirt. I mean, you wouldn't see that many of them in Ireland anyway. But that was the focus of a conversation. So think about that. Think about what are you missing out when you talk to people? Right? Oh, I love that ring. Is that from that designer Juan in a Million? Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then that starts a conversation. This can be particularly useful at networking events when you want to strike up a conversation with somebody. It can be particularly useful in personal events if you see a really good looking guy, a really good looking or not so good looking girl, whoever you want. And this can be really useful as well in personal situations. You see somebody that you want to talk to in a bar and you go up and you say, "Oh, were you in New York, just out of interest?" "No, why do you ask?" "Ah, because I saw the hat that you have." "Oh, no, 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 I bought that when I went, would you believe it, went to a market in Morocco." "Ah, okay. Ah, Morocco, what's that like?" And that's how we build up our communication. So today's tip is sensory acuity. Start to look out for the things that you might be missing. This is the typical. If you go to an NLP seminar or you work with an NLP coach or trainer, one of the things that we do is we say, and this works much better in a group, but you can do this on a one-to-one. You say, "Okay, how many people are wearing a watch?" 15 people put up their hands. "Is it digital? Is it analog?" Okay. And those who have an analog watch, keep your hands up. Okay. So 5 people keep their hands up. "Does it have Roman numerals or does it have numbers on it?" Keep your hand up if it has Roman numerals. And people will start discovering that something that they look at 3 or 4 times a day or more, they don't actually know what it looks like. So you say, "Is the writing black or is it white?" And then if you don't know, you put your hand down. Okay. "Is it a large font? Is it a small font?" And something that we look at every day, we realize that we know so little about it. So let me know your thoughts about sensory acuity, and I shall talk to you in the next video. Make sure that you follow, comment, DM me if you're curious about NLP, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye now, and have a very, very good